Thanks for having me, man. This is fantastic. Yeah.
Celebrating Juneteenth here.
Yes, the way this was intended. Yeah, like a guy wearing a Slayer shirt.
Yeah, having the whitest person ever on the podcast.
Yes, exactly. I know. The guilt is seeping right through right now. Absolutely. But yeah, no, great to be here.
I appreciate the brews, man. We probably have a lot to talk about.
Always.
I feel like we've only known each other for a couple hours.
Yeah, I think, well, we worked together on that show down the street, Paul's Italian restaurant thing, Prezzo or whatever.
Oh, shit. Did we?
Yeah, I think we did the Prezzo show together.
How long ago was that?
That was a while ago, but yeah, I remember. I think you were doing a spot because I was like, I mean, I could probably count on two hands how many like real metalheads I've met in my years in comedy. So I was like, oh, there's another one. Like it's like we can smell it on each other. Yeah, because I'm pretty clean cut. I think for most metal listeners, I've never had long hair. Shit like that, but so whenever I see one, I'm just like, I see the T-shirt. Like Pete Angelo, the first time I saw him, I was like, all right, we're not talking comedy. Let's talk, fuck the green room. Let's talk that T-shirt.
Yeah, dude. I think when I had him on, we talked about comedy for like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah,
and
he
the rest was just
comedy.
about Testament and shit.
Oh yeah, he and I don't think I've ever talked comedy actually, and I've had him on my pod when I had one, and yeah, we were just talking. Yeah, I think Slayer, Testament, predominantly that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's kind of more like rare now for metalheads to have long hair. I feel like most metalheads now have like just have the shirt.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and more power to you. I mean, yeah, it's like and it's never I've been trying to like go undercover or anything. I just with red hair, I just always felt very self-conscious about it. I don't have good hair for it. Yeah, it was just a weird look. Also, yeah, my old man never got us haircuts when we were a kid until we really started looking blatantly disheveled. So I think I always get like a haircut as like a fuck you to him. Yeah. Like I can afford my own haircuts now.
Well, it's like, does your hair like grow up?
Yeah, it's like I probably would have come out looking like if you ever get a picture of Sammy Hagar on the 5150 tour, it's like curly and out. It almost looks like a racer head from the David Lynch movie, but like out sideways a little more. I'm like, there's nothing metal about this, like
like King Buzzo.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd have a Melvin's thing, but he's got more, just if Buzzo didn't have the salt and pepper thing, he just like red hair, it would just go. I'm half Jewish, so I think it's part of the the curls would come out and stuff like that. So yeah, I could never just get long like flowing hair. So I never had long hair. Yeah.
It's nice, man. It's good for like headbanging, but like that's about it. It's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, totally.
Especially like in comedy, because like I saw this thing. Ralphie May, he did a whole thing of like what you need to know about comedy, like the essentials,
right?
And he said you can't have facial hair or like long hair that goes like on your face. I'm like, well, I'm fucked.
Yeah, yeah,
because those are like both things.
So yeah, when I started doing open mics, I don't think I was consciously like I'm gonna be the metal comic or something like that. But yeah, I have a pretty big collection of shirts, and I remember I had done this open mic and I was bombing also because I was new. Not that I'm blaming my shirt on this, but I had a Maiden Somewhere in Time tour shirt, and if you know that cover, and it didn't even have any of the font on it. It was the whole T-shirt's just Eddie as that Robo kind of with the gun, that icon of Eddie. And I get off, and there was this comic I really looked up to. And he was like, can I just offer a piece of advice? You're new, you're taking any advice thrown at you. He was like, the shirts are so distracting. Yeah.
Really?
And I'm not saying like that's why I pretty much always just wear a black shirt on stage, but I'm just kind of like, and sometimes I still wear band shirts on, obviously, but yeah, for the most part, that really stuck with me. Like, I don't want any other distractions other than the jokes. So that's something that really hit me. And again, every time I see Pete Angelo, he's got a metal shirt on. So maybe I just read too much into this for myself. But I'm just always kind of like, keep it simple for you. Just wear a black tee.
Well, I had the complete opposite thing happen to me, where I started with only black tees.
Oh yeah,
because like with Louis C.K. and stuff, I'm like, that's what I'm gonna be.
Right? Yeah, sure. Yeah. And then, minus the other stuff. Yeah.
Well, But for as long as people don't know,
Yeah.
but I only had like 2 black shirts.
Oh, no
and
kidding.
then 50 band shirts.
Oh, yeah.
So there would be some times where I'm going to a mic and I'm like, well, I do have a Testament tee on.
Right,
Fuck
yeah.
it, I'll just wear it.
Yeah.
And then like I do have metal material, so it did kind of complement. And
Yeah.
I noticed that there wasn't really a difference in wearing, black tees or a metal tee.
Yeah.
I think the distracting thing is if it's like a comedy t-shirt.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where it's like, I saw someone with a shirt the other day while performing that said, don't scare me or I'll come.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Now you're just thinking about that. Yeah. It's a distraction, kind of. Yeah. Yeah. And then if they're really bad, it's like, all right, that shirt is the best joke in your set.
yeah. Well, that's the also thing.
Right,
Like,
yeah. You
like,
can't
you
write
can't
a cum
follow your
joke that
shirt.
good. Yeah, you can't follow your shirt. Yeah. I would pay to see your shirt over you. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
brutal.
yeah.
Yeah.
how long you been doing stand-up?
I'm 10 years. Yeah.
10 years?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think a couple weeks ago I just hit the 3-year mark.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's when I feel like 3 is when it's like you're really committed. 'Cause, you see, I remember my first year thinking people were being dicks to me, and maybe a couple really were, but I realized it's just there's such a revolving door those first couple of years. I think a lot of people are just like, I'm not going to take the time to get to know someone if they're just going to bail on this whole lifestyle after 2 bombs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, so if someone's coming up day 1, like, hey, everybody, we're in it together. It's like, no, fuck you. No, we're not. Like, yeah, you go be miserable for a couple of years like I was, all right? Yeah, I mean,
Well, you kind of have to you have to have that moment in comedy where like you're crying on the way home.
Sure, sure.
And then it's
yeah.
like, okay, I'm a comic now.
Yeah. Also, the longer the drive home, the better. It seals you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think 2 years in, a real doozy up in, oh, God, I can't remember the town in New Hampshire. But, yeah, it took me about 2 hours to get there each way in my, like, '02 Civic that used to, like, I had AAA on speed dial for a while there. And just, going up to do 10 and just, fucking falling flat on my face. And just on my drive back, I'm like, do something else. Maybe you'll go to grad school someday. Something like that. Yeah, just anything but this. And then, it's like the toxic relationship or something. It's like, God, some days I wish I never met you, and some days I can't live without you. Yeah, Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, maybe I should just go back into marketing.
Right. And luckily, the good days are better, are more frequent than the bad. So, it keeps me around.
Yeah, for sure, man. And like, I've had those drive homes where like no music, you're just driving in silence, like just replaying the night in your head.
Replaying the night, and also I think subconsciously I'm like, you don't deserve music.
Yeah.
You sit in silence with you and your dumb thoughts and your dumb jokes and and your stupid dreams and you're gonna fucking put on Hellbent for Leather while you're sobbing in your wheel. Like, come on,
you're not cool enough for Judas Priest right now.
All right, maybe you get Dokken. We give you something a little softer, like
Dokken, Cinderella. That's where you're at right now.
You get hair tonight. You don't get the good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Is Dokken the band that has like the albums where it's like like Isaiah whatever, like where it's like the Bible passages?
I don't remember that. I know the hits, and I'm not gonna lie. I do
What
not
band is
blindly
that?
hate hair metal. There are a few.
Striper. That's what it is.
Oh
Yeah.
Striper were. Oh, they were Christian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They were the only Christian. They walked so as I lay dying could run. They were the Christian guys. Yeah. Except they didn't go to jail for trying to have their wife murdered. But yeah, that's a different story. Dokken was a weird one because I think, I was such a little kid for some of that stuff. So, because they had the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 song, and I, loved that series as a kid. So I think I accidentally liked a few Dokken songs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Listen, man, Lock and Key,
Yeah, they had a few good songs. I'm not going to lie. And George Lynch was a good shredder. I mean, so, even I think the biggest Dokken haters would be like, that guy could play. So,
honestly, I do fuck with that album, Lock and Key.
Yeah,
I think it's good.
Yeah, I never cared for rap. Warren DeMartini was a good Axeman, though.
Yeah, for sure.
The guy
for
could
sure.
play.
Yeah. But it's the complete opposite of like the genre I'm into, because thrash metal's like my bread and butter.
Absolutely. And that felt, it was kind of, I think those are the genres of metal where you feel more at home like you do with stand-up. It's like, no, this is for the Island of the Broken Toys. Like, that's why there are metalhead comics and that overlap. because it's like, no, yeah, I don't sit I like sitting at that table, like, so.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it's the best genre that translates into comedy.
Yeah.
You know, like
Totally.
you look at like Don Jameson and like Jim
Hossein.
Brewer. Yeah, exactly.
Hossein.
You know,
Oh,
we were
fuck,
talking
yeah.
about Pete Angelo too.
Yeah, Florentine.
You know,
yeah.
Florentine.
Yeah,
I feel like there's nothing really like that with like other genres of music. There's,
Yeah.
You know, there's no real jazz comics or anything.
No. Yeah, it's all about the laughs you didn't hear. Yeah. Right.
Just crowd work the whole time.
I didn't bomb. I was just trying my best John Coltrane up there. Yeah.
Yeah. I write on stage.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. But I just feel like just stand up works like, you know, like I've opened for a couple bands and it's like it just felt so natural.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
You. Well, I didn't open for metal bands actually. So yeah, I opened for like some more just punkish and hard. Yeah, but yeah, I was.
How was that?
I'm not good. I mean, it's anything. I'm glad you were well received, but I don't. In hindsight, at the time, I took it personal. Absolutely. Also, the guy running it was like, do 25 up top. I'm like, I am the roadblock in between what these people came to see, and they are not enjoying it. Luckily, there were like a couple people in the crowd that recognized me from Great Scott. I don't know if you ever went to Great Scott when it was still open.
No.
So they had a comedy show there on Friday nights, pre-pandemic. The whole place is closed now, but they would have metal and punk bands also play in there sometimes. So there was overlap with the tech, and some of the tech guys were there that night, and they'd seen me kill at that show or whatever. And just they're watching me just stumble through 25 while the crowd's just just I will kill you.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what I will do for a paycheck sometimes, But I don't take it personal now because you can't force one medium when they showed up for another. You can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Danny Kelly, who's a good friend of mine, opened for Air Supply.
You told me about this. Yeah.
And
he got fired on stage, right? Well, at least you can go right home. At least.
Yeah. But that's a tough gig, and he bombed horribly.
Oh my god!
And that's the thing, man. You have to be very picky with I think bands you open because punk, I can see that going really bad.
Right.
And it's like back in the day, the Bailoff ages, if there was a band the audience didn't like, they would turn their whole backs to them. Yeah, that San Francisco scene was brutal. Yeah. And that's bands, let alone some guy being like, flying's weird.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, what was the story? Bailoff used to keep either scissors or a knife in his pocket, and if you wore a hairband shirt to the show, he would just run up and cut it off.
And he would wear the shirts.
Wear
them as right.
They were like trophies. Yeah, like serial killers.
Predator.
Yeah. That man was from another planet, man.
Yeah, Bailoff was insane.
Yeah. That I don't know. Because we've only hung out a couple of times. I mean, you ever think about? I never liked the Big Four label because I felt like they should have made room for Exodus and Testament. This is. There should be room for other guys at that table because it was a Bay Area thing. And I love Anthrax to death. They're a New York band though, so it was kind of it was a little weird to me.
Well, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think the only reason Anthrax is even, in the Big Four is because of Among the Living.
Oh, okay.
If it wasn't for that record, I don't think they would have even... It would have been Exodus or Testament.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it should have been Exodus. Pete Angelo was arguing with me that it's Testament. I can't argue with it personally.
They have a more consistent catalog.
Well, that's
over
what he
the
was
years.
saying because it's you look at
Exodus. You're going on Bonded by Blood.
That's
99% of it. So
that's it. And don't get me wrong, Fabulous Disaster I think is fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. The Toxic Waltz is on that, right? Or,
yeah. Cajun Hell, I believe, is another one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the title track's fantastic. Just such a good record. But with Anthrax, the first album's good.
Oh, yeah.
Among the Living's really, really good. But I don't think they're that good compared to Testament, Exodus.
Right.
You can probably argue even like others too, like Creator.
Maybe, sure, yeah.
Sodom.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of purists will cry foul too because they, dip their toe in the hip hop lake, so to speak. I mean, and I love a lot of old hip hop too. I was a big Public Enemy fan my whole life, so yeah, I'm still a Bring the Noise fan and things like that. And
I'm the Man.
I'm the Man's great. They were funny too. They were funny with that Kinnison sample.
Yeah,
on there.
Yeah. I actually have the record like right there.
Oh,
too.
dude.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And they're still great live too.
Fantastic. Like Among the Living.
Belladonna has really kept it together.
Oh
over the
yeah.
years. Scott Ian looks like he isn't day to day in almost 30 years.
Yeah. And honestly, like I think as much as I love Among the Living, I think I prefer SOD.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. Well, yeah. Scott Ian really had a lot on his plate back then. Yeah.
That what a mess that is now, though.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, it's like I don't even want to name album titles on here. It's like, so, I'd like to get canceled for something I say on stage, not on a pod.
Yeah. But it's not even that. It's also like what's going on with like the members of the band.
Oh yeah,
you know, there's a ton of bad blood. It's just such a mess. I think there should have been. I think what should have happened is there should have been the New York 4.
Yeah.
And then the Bay Area 4.
Yeah, because Overkill could have been in the New York one too.
That would have been. Oh my! Imagine that.
Yeah.
Anthrax, Testament, Overkill.
Yeah.
Blanking on any other because Death Angel's out of L.A.
Yeah, and everything else kind of went into more hardcore, like Agnostic Front, so that's on
and SOD's also.
Typo with Carnivore, maybe. That we're digging a little deep.
I think that would work.
Carnivore definitely had that vibe. Typo was definitely gothier, but I loved them nonetheless.
Typo, I think, was in its own lane.
Oh, that you can't even put a genre for that. That was like if The Cure went. I don't even know. Like it was like Morrissey. Morrissey turned into this big jack dude or something like that. Yeah, they were something else, and I did love them because, like I was still very, very, very young, but I mean, I got into metal at such a young age. Yeah, the 90s were not fun. Like, you had Pantera, you had, Alice in Chains was embraced in a lot of circles. White Zombie, Rob Zombie, whatever. Those were the only guys selling records.
Yeah, you also had new metal too in the big.
And that was more in the latter half too. So
that was more like 96, 7, and 8.
Yeah, right? You talk 95. Other than Far Beyond Driven, like no one, no one gave a fart about metal at the time. Yeah,
I think a lot of people forget how on top of the world Pantera was.
First metal album, and only metal album I think to debut at #1 on the Billboard charts. That
was
fucking
and
insane.
They were like
during a dead genre.
Yeah, and Metallica was like kind of their bitch, they were like. Yeah. But unfortunately, what happened.
Yeah.
And now it's such a shame because you have like Pantera opening for Mammoth, opening for Metallica.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I would love to be a fly on the wall to see Phil Anselmo like asking Wolfgang Van Halen when he wants to go on. Like it's like the law of the universe doesn't make sense.
What
here.
happened?
Like Phil just going up like, hey, I'm not doing the voice, but the most maybe intimidating guy ever in metal. Like, going up to, a very talented bass player, but, maybe the ultimate Nepo baby ever,
Yeah, what's your opinion about the whole Pantera reunion?
I mean, let's, call a spade. Look, obviously, if you're a diehard metal fan, you're like, yeah, well, at least I got Rex back. The casual fans can be like, what do I care? Rex is back. Obviously, if you're a Pantera fan, Rex obviously was such a huge, part of the band, but it's no Abbott's. Obviously, Charlie's an amazing drummer. Zach's an amazing guitarist. I would still, it's still worth paying a ticket for. I would never besmirch anyone like, call him a poser for going. Obviously not. But, obviously it ain't Diamond Benny. So,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
We'll just call it at face value what it is. Go see him, but let's not act like, you're going to get probably the same rush people got. At those like early Oz fests when they're like promoting the Great Southern Trendkill. I mean,
yeah, Dime's like shooting fire out of his mouth.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I mean, just nutty stuff. I mean, obviously they had a lot. When Phil was doped up, obviously not so good. But I mean, when you see those old tapes when he is on, he is just. I mean. My favorite tape to watch of them is them playing Domination at that Moscow festival. There's like 500,000 people in there. Do you know how insane it is to have 500,000 be able to see you because you were so dynamic on stage, because you just like, whether it's twirling that fucking mohawk of a fucking thing he had during the Cowboys vulgar era, and just his whole vibe, it's insane. Yeah.
And just the breakdown on that song, you can see everyone just banging their heads. It's like the power of that band.
It's fucking nuts. Yeah,
so insane. Like I think, you know, I've pretty much only heard good things about the Pantera reunion, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all, but I think Pantera died with Vinny.
Yeah,
I really do believe that.
It's heartbreaking. And it's heartbreaking those guys never made peace before. Yeah.
It really is unfortunate. And I know, didn't Phil, someone punched, I think Vinny punched him in the face at Dime's funeral.
No, Phil wasn't allowed at Dime's funeral.
Yeah, didn't he show up though or something?
No. Phil, I guess, went to Dallas and was like, "Hey, I'm at a hotel. I'm coming." And I guess Dime's girlfriend Rita was like, got on the phone, was like, "If you show up, I will blow your head off myself." Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
It really is unfortunate. And then now he's pretty much leading Pantera.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I kind of see it. It's like, would it be Black Sabbath if it wasn't Tony Iommi?
Oh, all right.
So yeah, I mean?
Now we're really because he's the only permanent member. Think about that. Tony is like, look at those early 90s albums when Tony Martin's fronting it. Like, Geezer's gone, Bill's gone, obviously Ozzy, Ronnie. Like, Tony's the only permanent member. So, that raises the question, like, it would work, because how many millions of people have gone to see Ozzy with Zakk Wylde playing Black Sabbath
imagine
songs?
Black Sabbath with Zakk Wylde.
Oh my god! I can't. Whatever that squeal Zakk does, like on the fucking bullseye guitar.
War Pigs with pinch harmonics.
Yeah, pinch harmonics or whatever. It's like, well, no. Whoever gets the gig actually has to have their fingertips cut off like Tony did, and have to have the glue put on like Tony does. Yeah,
there would be guitarists that would do it. That would be a hell of a gig to
I'd probably do it just to have a couple drinks with them.
Honestly, same, man.
With Geezer, just have some red wine with Geezer.
Yeah,
he sounds like such a fascinating guy.
Those guys were maniacs.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
The Sabbath guys with them setting Bill Ward on fire in the studio.
Yeah. They're absolute lunatics. I mean, I think that's why I love Volume 4 so much. I love albums that have these insane backstories to them. And I love bands that, when things aren't harmonious, it's like you don't need to make great art to, like, love each other and be harmonious. And, Volume 4 is basically a cocaine binge set to music.
Yeah.
I mean, that is all that album is them at their cokiest. Ozzy said when he listens to Supernaut, 50 years later, he can taste the cocaine. Like,
that's crazy,
Yeah, and
man.
Supernaut, which is an all-time great Sabbath song, I think. Yeah.
I think so too, and a great riff. And there's literally I forget what the tape's called, but there is like kind of a bootleg of them playing, and you can watch Tony go backstage.
Oh yeah,
and take a
right. He couldn't wait 5 minutes.
Yeah. But like apparently that's what would happen between songs. The band would just disappear.
Oh yeah.
And then they'd come back and they'd be all like,
Well, it was supposed to be called Snowblind, as a nod to all the blow they were doing, but the company was like, that's too provocative or whatever. So if you look in the liner notes of Volume 4, which I actually have tattooed on my back, no, just the album cover, not the liner notes. It says this is dedicated to the great Coca-Cola Company of Los Angeles or whatever. So which in 1972, that's a pretty provocative thing to do. So,
I heard that they were like really upset with the name, like Volume 4.
Volume 4. Oh yeah. I mean, also Zeppelin was doing that thing at the time too. So maybe if that felt like encroachment, kind of, Zeppelin was doing the 1, 2, 3, 4 bullshit.
Yeah, Zeppelin 4, Sabbath 4.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe there was that's understandable.
I think that was the album, the recording where they spray painted Bill gold.
Is that right? Oh, I haven't.
Did you know about that?
I haven't heard that one. No.
As a joke, Tony Iommi spray painted Bill Ward gold.
Yeah.
Fucking who knows
why. Oh my god. Well, Tony always sounds like he was the type A of that group. Yeah. He was like their general, just because you're the front man doesn't mean you call all the shots. Ozzy sounds like he was kind of Tony was definitely the boss, so to speak. Yeah,
and he was a maniac. Like the thing is, everything you see with Tony Iommi, he's a very put together, like almost introverted guy.
Yeah, and he's still got that very regal, well spoken accent. He's not like Ozzy slurring out there. Yeah, so but no, an absolute maniac. Yeah,
but he was trying to blow up Ian Gillan, in the Born Again album.
Yeah,
he was a menace, man.
Yeah,
like the fireworks. I think. I think it was his room where everyone was trying to set up. I think Ozzy set off like a whole store of fireworks in his hotel room at some point. And then Tony was just lighting the drummer on fire.
Yeah.
But he spray painted Bill Ward gold.
Oh my
and he
God.
passed out.
Well, that's really bad for your health.
And they had to call 911 and they were like and they were like, what the fuck were you guys doing? He almost died.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, shit, They were just all coked up.
Yeah, well, because I think the spray paint blocks, like, the pores on your skin from, like, breathing out or something like that. Yeah, that's insane.
And just, like, the chemicals, that must be the worst thing of all time.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons I loved Ozzy always so much, though. He would have made a good comic on paper on so many ways. I'm not just talking about the drugs and alcohol, but like, this guy is massive inferiority complex and a very sad guy underneath a lot of it, and humor as a defense mechanism, and there's so many interviews where he will really make you crack up. He's a funny guy.
Did you hear about the interview where he was talking about how he like texted Robert Plant?
No, yeah.
Apparently it was fucked up, and he didn't know that he texted Robert Plant, have you seen the cat?
Yeah.
That was it.
Really? Yeah.
And then I think the next day he like texted him back like, "You found it yet?"
Oh yeah,
or something.
Yeah,
like that's so wild, man.
Yeah.
Like just having Oz in your contact, like even that alone is chaotic.
Yeah.
Like just the chaotic energy that comes with knowing Ozzy.
I can't even imagine. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, there was a clip I saw recently where like he goes to the dressing room and he like sits in a chair and the chair just falls back.
Yeah.
And he's like stuck pretty much upside down, and Zakk Wylde like has to go in and like help him up. He's like, fucking never ends.
Oh Jesus.
It never ends.
Well, so you know about Mac Sabbath, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever see that clip of his son taking him to see Mac Sabbath?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ozzy just like he's like freaking out. Yeah.
I have a good Mac Sabbath story.
Oh yeah.
So I had their manager on the podcast.
Oh my God.
So the manager is pretty much the singer.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
And this is no secret.
Right.
On YouTube, there's rehearsal videos of the manager singing.
Yeah.
And he also sounds like the guy, and it's very obvious.
Right.
So I had him on the podcast.
No kidding.
This was like maybe my 5th interview of like an artist.
Yeah.
And I think the interview was like maybe like 12 minutes. Flew through the questions.
Yeah, very curt responses.
Yeah, I'm like, what's it like, touring with the band, and like, what's it like all in the van and stuff? Yeah, fine.
No, give me something here, man.
Yeah. But it was so funny, man. But like Mac Sabbath, it's on like. So weird. I'm putting a 12-minute interview on Spotify.
Like
a 12-minute podcast.
Right.
But I'm like totally revamping because I usually used to do 10 questions per artist. Now I do like over 20.
Oh, yeah.
Just because of just in case.
Yep.
Another Mac Sabbath.
Right, yeah, you gotta have shit in your back pocket. Yeah, it's like you're doing a certain set length, and you gotta be prepared. Yeah. Make sure you got that many bullet points on your list. Yeah. No, and then you look like an ass and unprepared if you don't. So
yeah. Mac Sabbath is a funny fucking band, though.
Oh, the whole thing's hilarious. I mean, I've always enjoyed the Spinal Tapness of metal. I mean, and I think anyone that doesn't needs to lighten up. Like, you hear these stories about when Spinal Tap came out, like some of the guys in like the Scorpions were like, this is not cool. Like, they're making fun of us. And like, you've heard so many guys in hindsight now, like Dio was like, this was a beautiful joke on all of us. Like, yeah. And I think it was Dee Snider. He was like, no, he was like, it felt like they were following us on tour. Like the accuracy, like those Hello Cleveland moments, like he was like, they hit so hard and close to home.
Well, the stories coming out of some of these tours back in the day, like Was it? I'm trying to. I haven't seen the movie in forever, but was it when they get they get like the Stonehenge or whatever?
Yeah, yeah.
Super small.
And I think they're mocking Sabbath with that. Yeah,
where the opposite happened with Sabbath.
Right.
The Born Again tour.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's just shades of Sabbath, and also because Ronnie was, a lot of guys called him a little guy, because he was like 5'2", and they have little people in that bit. Yeah.
Well, did you know the story of how they had the little person or whatever dressed as the baby, the devil baby?
Yeah.
And they would have him, I guess, go on top of the Stonehenge and fall off.
Yeah.
And there'd be a guy that would put the mattress down, so when he fell, he'd land on the mattress. But apparently, one of the days they forgot to put the mattress, and he fell, and you could just hear the thump.
Oh God!
And I think he died, or something. He was very like very much injured. Like really fucking crippled. Because he fell like it was like the Stonehenges, I believe, and he fell fucking far because they were giant, man. Like because they ordered these Stonehenges, and the person who gave it and made them and delivered it made them life size.
Oh.
Where they thought they were getting kind of miniature ones.
Yeah, the life size are 10 feet tall, I think. Yeah. Something like that, yeah.
So they were saying, when you would see the show, you couldn't even see the backdrop. Because it was just giant, foam rocks or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, some of those productions, I mean, I think, obviously I enjoy the pageant of so many different bands. I mean, Maiden is still maybe probably my favorite band to see live, and part of that is, the bells and whistles they put into each Eddie and that specific tour, and when Eddie's like. I feel like he's a bastard cousin of mine at this point. That's how long I've been listening to Maiden. It's like, oh, what's Eddie wearing tonight when you go see Maiden? It's like, like it's that much, part of like my bloodstream.
What's your favorite Maiden record?
Can I? Oh God, I love these discussions because I always have to throw some fucked up wrench into it. I'm like, well, can we count a lot? Because Live After Death, if like I had to be on a desert island, Live After Death is perfect and complete to me. That's one of the albums that got me into them. But studio, this is going to be very unpopular. I love Seventh Son of a Seventh Son.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it. It's not, one of their sexier records. I just think there are just so many awesome songs on it. And honestly, I don't think there's a bad song on it. And, I know Number of the Beast is usually the Hot Hand or Power Slave. And I love the Paul Di'Anno albums. I love everything they did, and I'm including No Prayer for the Dying, which honestly has a couple of duds on it. But that through Fear of the Dark, I put on any of them, and I'm gonna enjoy myself. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the old heads will say Killers.
Yeah,
anyone I talk to pretty much grew up with Maiden.
Yeah,
say Killers or the debut.
Yeah,
for me, I kind of am in the same boat you are, where Somewhere in Time.
Oh, Somewhere in Time is amazing.
My all-time favorite.
It's very underrated.
Love proggy Maiden.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
Where they're doing the 7-8 minute songs.
Oh, Heaven Can Wait. Heaven Can
Wait.
Stranger in a Strange Land. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fantastic.
That's a great opener, and I was never a big synthesizer guy, but that opener. It just sets the tone, and it's so good. I mean, everyone was guilty of a synthesizer in around '86, anyways. So it's like fucking Turbo. I mean, everyone, bends a knee. I think sometimes to the fashion or the trend at the time. I mean, even Slayer with Diabolica. I mean, like everyone's guilty. Kerry King has admitted it before. I mean, yeah. So everyone kind of will kind of cater to the masses at one point or another.
And Kerry King admitting something like that's crazy.
I know, yeah, but that's how big that shit was at the time.
I remember when he was on Marty Friedman's show.
Yeah.
And he was talking about some of the bands that influenced him, and he said Slayer.
Yeah. Marty Friedman said that?
Kerry King.
Oh, yeah, Kerry. Oh, yeah. Oh my god, that's so funny for a guy that looks like he never laughs. You know?
What's asking Carrie like, what's some of your favorite records? He'll be like, Rain and Blood.
Oh yeah. I think there's a lot of guys like that. Yeah, Ozzy actually. There's an old interview of Ozzy where he's like that. It's like in the early MTV years, and he shits on a lot of people in that.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Drunk, addicted, Ozzy was very combative, and they were like, what do you think of The Clash? He was, like, boring. Like he shits on a lot of genres in that. Michael Jackson, boring. Who's the best voice in rock right now? Ozzy Osbourne. Like, yeah, like, he's definitely like that.
Well, I think with Ozzy, of course he's probably fucking loaded. In that, but
of course, yeah, it's like 82, yeah.
If anyone has bragging rights, or has the ability, because like that's kind of the whole Johnny Rotten thing. Sure. I'm not sure if you've seen him on it was like Celebrity Squares or whatever.
It's almost gotten to like Spinal Tap-ish Johnny Rotten though. It's like, look, we know you're going to insult everything and everything sucks, and but what were you going to say? Sorry.
It was no. It's but you're right, because that's all his thing is.
Right. That's
you know what I mean?
Shtick,
where he was on this show where it was called, it was this old British, I think it was called Hot or Not or Hit or Not or something.
I'm surprised he even agreed to do it.
Me too, man. Where it's a panel of artists.
Yeah.
And you'll play a tune and they'll ask the panel if it's good or not.
Yeah.
And every time it went to... And everyone's giving these elaborate answers. Yeah. Like, these guys are great or whatever. Mm-hmm. Every time I went to Johnny, he goes, rubbish.
Rubbish. Yep.
and then the last track was like, he's like, rubbish. And he's like, well, the band's here,
Yeah.
And they come out.
Yeah.
And everyone, they're shaking their hands. And you can hear Johnny, when he's shaking the guy's hand, he goes... Nice for you to meet me.
No, yeah. So yeah, sometimes that shit just never dies in a person. Yeah. I mean, to his credit, he's owned it. He owned it all those years. I mean, Lemmy never stopped being Lemmy, but
Lemmy was a really down to earth guy, though.
Yeah, I really loved. One thing I love about him, no one ever talks about. I mean, obviously, aside from the music and just him just and really transcending a genre too. I mean, I love guys like him in Guns N' Roses. It's like no one camp can really claim him.
Yeah.
The punk guys and the metal guys could both claim Motorhead. GNR, I mean, forget about it. But but he just had a 1-bedroom apartment all those years. He's like, I live on the road. Why the fuck would I get a house?
Yeah, right. Like a block from the rainbow.
That's all he wanted to go. That was his home. And you hear about all these rockers going broke. It's like, why you live on the road? Why do you need that mansion in Bel Air? Why do you need that pool? I loved guys like Lemmy, just bare knuckled, like do it yourself, and pretty much as humble as they were the day. Like his vices were like collecting like World War II memorabilia.
Yeah, all over the wall.
All over the walls.
Yeah.
And he would go to bookstores and fucking Tower Records, and he was a fan like everyone else. He would collect vinyl still. So those are the guys you really tip your hat to.
There's footage of him like going through records, like at record stores, flipping through like Beatles and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, and he talks to the clerk at I think it's the old Tower Records on Sunset.
Yeah.
He's like, I love that you have the White Album on mono still. It's like my old man has that on mono too, so that like really hit me in the heart. Like, wow.
Yeah. Well, that's Ozzy's biggest influence was the Beatles. Sure. It all goes back to the Beatles.
Oh sure.
Have you seen the footage of Ozzy meeting like Paul McCartney?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's
on the Howard Stern show of all places.
It's so funny that no matter who you are, you're always going to have that one person that you look up to. There's a clip of somewhere of Keith Richards meeting Chuck Berry, and it's kind of that dynamic too. It's like, oh, Keith Richards, like just that kid in a candy store for once, like he's been on the other side that whole life. And there was some story about Chuck Berry trying to teach Keith Richards one of his old licks, and Keith couldn't get it, and Chuck Berry's like reprimanding him. He's like, no, you're doing it wrong. And like Keith Richards getting like flustered, like, fuck, I can't get this lick down.
That's always funny because like that's the one person that it's like that can actually like intimidate them.
I know. So it's just so funny. No matter how big you get or how high you get, there's always going to be someone you still look up to. So it kind of keeps things in perspective. Yeah.
Except, well, even like the Beatles worshipped Elvis.
Oh yeah, Zeppelin too. Yeah.
And Elvis didn't give a shit about the Beatles. He
No.
if anything, hated them.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it's so funny how every single, I guess it's like the whole never meet your heroes thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've luckily been pretty lucky in that department. I don't know about you, but yeah, nothing too hard. I'm guessing you don't share this sentiment. Yeah, I'm sure.
Very hit or miss for me.
Yeah,
personally.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I felt bad for one of my good friends. I actually only felt a little bad because you should have known. Him saying meeting Gene Simmons was not a pleasant experience. I'm like, what the fuck did you think you were going to get out of Gene Simmons? Like, hey, thanks for being a fan. No, he's just going to be like, thank you for acknowledging, yeah, you should be so lucky to meet me.
Yeah.
Like, I almost wanted to shit on him for how naive he was being. Like, any Kiss fan worth their salt knows you're not going to enjoy talking to this man.
Yeah, you pay for that meet and greet just for Gene to treat you like a peasant.
It's like to get roasted. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's the rock and roll roast. Is Gene Simmons just acting completely indifferent? Like, you should just be so lucky to be breathing the same air as him.
You paid for this. You fucking sucker.
Yeah. And I'm sure Paul's not much better in that department either.
Yeah. I like. Don't get me wrong. I've seen Kiss I think I've seen them 3 or 4 times.
Oh, I'm a diehard fan to this day.
Yeah,
but let's not act like these are guys you want to. I mean,
terrible people.
Oh, awful. These are businessmen first and musicians second.
Yeah. What's your favorite Kiss record?
Can I do face paint and non-face paint? Because I actually am one of those douchebags that likes the 80s catalog.
Lick It Up.
No, probably not actually. But face paint, can I do a live or are we talking studio?
Sure. Well, Alive is the obvious.
Alive is the
that
ultimate.
Is the ultimate.
But
record.
I will say face paint. I'll probably go Love Gun over Destroyer actually because that has I Stole Your Love. And God of Thunder's Destroyer. Never mind. But yeah, I'll go Love Gun for 70s stuff, and then 80s. Oh God, it might be Lick It Up or. Again, a very uncool take here. Hot in the Shade, maybe. It is so bad, but they just they're a riff and hook machine or Crazy Nights too. Those it's so bad, but it's so good, and I just love it, and it's part of my bloodstream. I've been listening to them since I was yay high, and that's all it's part of who I am. Yeah.
Me too, man. Destroyer. I was listening to that so young.
32 minutes long. Think about that. That is insane. Yeah. I mean,
but it's that's what I your miss. Favorite? My favorite has to be, I think my favorite Kiss record's Hotter Than Hell.
Oh, it's a great. Going
even
blind.
Though production, famously a lot of second records just have such shit production.
Shout at the Devil. And
Parasite, the title track. Just
Going Blind.
Blind.
Yeah, later covered by the Melvins.
Yeah,
speaking of King
Blind.
Buzzo. That's how I got into the Melvins, actually. Someone was like, they covered Kiss. I was like, I'm like, that's all I need to hear.
Well, they were they're massive Kiss fans. Even their solo albums are kind of
the solo albums. Yeah. Him and Dale. Did that. Yeah.
Which, what a genius.
Oh, yeah. Parasite is an all-time iconic lick, too, yeah.
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 So good, man. But Creatures of the Night, I think, is another, underrated one.
The title track's great. I love
War
it loud.
Machine?
Yeah, I love it loud, obviously.
Yeah.
No, there's good ones on there. I think that is Ace's Swan Song Part 1.
Yeah. Well, that was... did that come out after...
Music from the Elder.
Yeah, so that was their reaction.
Dude. I love to go to bat for albums that are shit on sometimes, but Music from the Elder, there's nothing to defend there.
That might be, from the cover alone.
Oh my God.
Is a terrible, terrible record.
I still don't know what they were trying to do there,
Because it's it might have been cool if you had maybe a leather gloved, fingerless with kind of some studs on it.
Yeah.
So it's all right, it's kind of a metal record, I guess, but it's
yeah.
And it's music from The Elder because they were going to make a movie called The Elder.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact about that album.
Yeah.
The tracks are not in order.
Oh, really?
The record label shuffled all the tracks.
Oh, no kidding.
So the story is completely impossible to follow.
Right. I mean, honestly, A World Without Heroes is all I really remember of that. That's all that's really worth remembering.
Honestly, but even like, you know, this was an era where, like, I guess, like, a lot of the classic rock bands were going for, like, kind of, like, more proggy sound.
Right.
And Kiss, I feel like, was trying to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, it just sounds like a bad Roger Daltrey impression.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because, like, they're trying to adjust. They're trying to change their sound, kind of.
Just like Dynasty with disco, you know.
Exactly.
Like, yeah,
you know, but that kind of worked.
Oh, I Was Made for Loving You is one of their biggest hits to this day.
So they're like, oh, I guess we can kind of just...
Right, do whatever. Yeah, carte blanche, but yeah.
Yeah, adapt and kind of be a chameleon in
right.
terms of music.
Them taking off the makeup was just a publicity. We need a shot in the arm here. I mean, they weren't like, no, it's time to do it because we feel ready. No, they needed a marketing stunt to keep
and the MTV
times.
Shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually not bad, the Unplugged.
Unplugged. No, I enjoyed, actually, with Going Blind on there, too. That's a really good version of Going Blind. No, there's some good ones on there.
It's just fucking Gene Simmons, man. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Every interview I've seen him, he's always promoting something.
Oh, yeah.
Is it a Loudwire or whatever? I think he did an interview.
Yeah.
And he has this fucking vault next to him.
Yep.
This giant vault. And he's selling this thing called the Gene Simmons Vault.
Yeah.
And it's probably like $10,000 or something. But it's literally, you get shipped a box that's a vault.
Yeah.
And every question asked to him, he would just redirect to the vault.
Oh, my God.
You find more about this actually in the vault.
Yeah.
Like, blah, 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 blah. Just so annoying, man. Like, that is the biggest, like, thing where it's like, I just fucking hate that in music.
Right.
Like, I don't mind, because there's a lot of artists that have really fucked political beliefs.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, whatever.
Sure.
But when it's like just a complete corporate fucking machine.
And especially, you know, the hard rock and metal, I think, ideal. It's never been the slogan. This is supposed to be a music of the people, you know, for more downtrodden folks or disenfranchised people. And it's like, no, I'm here for your money first and your artistic love second. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Metallica's kind of turned into Kiss a little bit, I feel.
Yeah, that's fair.
Metallica is on Fortnite sooner than Kiss.
Yeah.
You see that? I think that was recently.
No.
That was I think it was announced like a couple days ago.
Yeah.
That Metallica is in Fortnite now, and you can be like all the members.
Wow.
They're putting out an exclusive Fortnite.
All time members or all current?
No,
yeah.
Current.
I'm sure. I would hope Cliff's estate protects some of that.
Yeah. You can't be Dave doing the floss.
Right. Know? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure Jason Newsted at least wants a piece. You know? Yeah.
But it's so funny because like. They made Lars as tall as James.
Okay, oh my God, I wonder if
and he's like Lars super fit, and he's got like the backwards hat and everything.
Good Lord. I guess some people never outgrow the Napoleon thing.
Yeah.
But
Lars it's so funny, man. It's just like that's what's so interesting, you know, because like the thing is like I didn't grow up with any of this shit.
Yeah. So actually, if don't mind me asking you a question, you know, you're what, 25?
Mm-hmm.
Most people your age are listening to anything but this. So how did you get in so early and young? And so, I mean, you seem to be as knowledgeable, if not more than me, and I'm your senior. So what's your backstory there?
Yeah. So for me, I was like big into radio. Mm-hmm. Like for me, Howard Stern was like a massive influence for me. Yeah. And that's something like with this podcast I'd like to get to at some point.
Yeah.
Like really have a real studio.
Yeah.
And really hone down what I want this podcast to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of just shooting shit with people.
Yeah.
Or like really formal interviews.
Mm-hmm.
But loved Howard Stern. Mm-hmm. My high school had a radio club.
Oh, okay.
So I did that, and you kind of had to pair up with someone. So I found someone else. So it's like, all right, the other quiet kid who has their headphones in.
Yep.
Kind of paired up with him. We were kind of just like playing music because he's like, I kind of just want to play music. So I'm like, whatever. And we kind of made it a comedy thing too.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of music as well. Mm-hmm. And he played this song called War Pigs, and I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, just the original Off Paranoid?
Yeah, just the original Off. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's Sabbath, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So I'm like, all right. So I on iTunes, you know, I downloaded Paranoid.
Yeah.
And it ruined my life.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it fun? Yeah. Found what the music gave me purpose and the worst way to talk to women. And alienate yourself from most keg parties. And
dude, I have such a good story. I did. That's the thing, man. It's impossible because it's so impossible, you know. Because like,
luckily, I listened to a lot of punk and hip hop when I was growing up too, so I wasn't like completely hopeless. But yeah, it was like
for me, it's like maybe Ralph's Rock Diner, you know.
Oh yeah.
But
I went there for shows before I ever did comedy, you know. So
yeah, great shows there, man. But
so I Hate God there and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Exciter played there recently.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
What is it holding there?
Huh?
What's it holding there, you think?
That's a good question. Because it's just a standing room.
Right.
And I've seen it where it's like, all right, this is packed. And then I've gone again. I'm like, okay, so this is packed.
Right.
You know, this is capacity.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's hard to determine. What do you think?
God, I don't know. I feel like I've been in there 7, like, you know, something like that. But yeah, I mean, again, I've only been, that was the only show I think I ever went, you know, other times it was just comedy, but but
I definitely agree with, like, you know, people my age, you know, definitely don't listen to this shit,
right,
or like look like me,
right,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like we were even talking about long hair, how it's like not really a thing in metal anymore, really.
No, I think I mean, you know, this whole thing's grown such like insane tentacles over, you know, I mean, like shaved head, beard, whatever, like
so like, you know, the dating scene is rough.
Yeah. My wife doesn't listen to metal at all. Like, luckily, there's like enough punk and like just different kinds of rock that, like, you know, I spread out into. That way we do like overlap on a lot of stuff. But yeah, when it comes to you know, the OGs, she's just like, she kind of pats me on the head, like, oh, this is so cute. You never outgrew this. Like, yeah.
But you know, the thing is, my one chance was when I was in a relationship.
Yeah.
When the whole Stranger Things thing was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, I was in fashion.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Now it's
you beat him to the punch. Yeah.
But now that, you know, I'm single, it's like, fuck, I wish that came out now. You
know?
The other day I did a show at Dot Tavern.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And there was like this girl looking at me my whole set. And she was like looking at me, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to like talk to her after.
Yeah.
You know, she seems like she's, you know, would, you know, like to have a conversation or something.
Yep.
You know, because she seems cool and she seems like she's enjoying the set.
Yep.
So after the show, I'm talking to a Camo.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And, you know, he's heading out. You know, he's like, I'll see you around, man.
Yeah.
So he goes to give me a hug, and I go to give him a hug.
Yeah.
And she's, I guess, walking out of the bathroom, and I put my arms out like that and punch her in the face.
Oh, my God.
Like, just fucking... You know, like right in the side of the head. Like, just fucking nail her.
How did that go? Was she accepting of your apology?
Definitely. It was one of those ride homes without music.
Yeah. For context, everyone, the show is also in Dorchester.
Most bring people, it back.
I think a lot of the women in that tavern could, you know, bottle a lot of the guys in regular Boston.
Probably, honestly. Yeah. But that's just something.
When you're hugging Cam, though, you could be like, I'm a good ally. He's my gay friend. Like,
he's gay.
Yeah. What was the giveaway? Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, you couldn't even script that. Oh, God.
Yeah. But it's like, it's kind of funny in the moment because it's like, of course, that shit happens,
you know? Yeah. And then on the drive, and then the next day, you're like, is there a bit here? Yeah.
It's like, I interviewed Chris Paul and come back.
Yeah. I know. Who the fuck is that? Yeah. Like, I mean, for this age group, I mean, you could say Mustaine himself. Everyone's going to be like, huh? Who?
Yeah, or Megadeth.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, that's just a t-shirt at Hot Topic now. That's all that is.
Dude, it's so wild because, like, there's people I talk to who are like, they'll, like, comics who are they're like, I'm into metal too. I'm like, sick, man. And, like, I'll bring up Megadeth. They're like, yeah, I've never heard of them. And it's like, and it just sucks, man. So that's when, like, I think you heard I have like this bit about metal, and I guess like because with the show we were at, it was on a rooftop,
right? Yeah.
And I think all the comics were at the other side.
Yeah.
So you must have just kind of heard it, and you're like, oh, shit.
Well, I heard the word Megadeth, and I was, I'm just like a dog with its ears up, like, all right, you have my undivided attention, yeah.
And then you were talking to me like, oh, all right, someone who's heard of the band Megadeth.
Yeah.
And then I think you told me I think I said Chris Poland. You're like, oh shit, Chris Poland. I'm like, oh, so it's an actual metalhead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think also the only guitar player. I think one of the few guitar players ever, not just Megadeth, where Dave Mustaine has tipped his hat like that guy can run circles around me, like, and that is it. When Dave Mustaine pays like stands down, it's like, wow, you must be a shredder. Like,
well, that's also not only is he a shredder, but he's like a jazz guy.
A jazz guy. Him and Gar Samuelson. I mean, well, that's why they were such smackheads. I mean, because that's just part of being a jazz musician in so many ways. Yeah.
And I even like asked Chris. I was like, was it weird going from like jazz to like something that has like more of an emphasis on like speed picking? He's like, not at all.
Yeah.
He's like, it was such an easy transition, for me and Gar, and it's like, damn.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Yeah.
It showed.
My dad listens to a lot of classical music, actually, which, I'm still get sometimes embarrassed about. I mean, he liked a lot of classic rock too, but he listens to a lot of classical. And it was so funny, when I started really going full throttle on Ozzy, he would listen to the Randy Rhoads solos. He was like, that guy's like, this guy's classically trained. And I would be like, what the, fuck you, old man. Like, and then once, like I read more on Randy Rhoads, he was classically trained, like.
Dude, it was crazy because like when he was on tour with Ozzy, anytime he wasn't at a show, he'd find the nearest music school
to get a lesson.
And he would take classical guitar lessons.
That's like the headliner. That's like when Bill Burr goes to hit an open mic on his night off. That's fucking. It's like, what? That's why these guys are so good. They just never rest on their laurels.
You have to. That's the thing where like a lot of people will get to that point.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I made it. I'm just gonna coast.
Right. Yeah.
Where like, and this goes for any art form. Where I feel like you always have to fucking
grow. Yeah.
I
Evolve.
feel like there's kind of never a time where it's like, you can obviously outgrow the open mics.
Yeah.
But unless you're doing stadiums.
Right.
Or you're like doing maybe theaters or something. Like you should always be able to go to an open mic and just shoot shit and run material and try stuff out.
Absolutely.
And I think that goes for musicians as well in terms of like learning.
Yeah.
Because like,
I mean, comics, it's different because the crowd is your instrument. That's
the
only thing.
Dude, that's what's crazy about stand-up, where it's like, with guitar, you can sit at home for a couple years and fucking figure it out and then bring it to the stage. Where comedy, you can only practice live.
You can write with your friends till you're, fucking blue in that face, but you're never going to find out until you hit the stage.
But then you get on stage and you go, oh, this shit sucks.
Well, it's a problem with writing with friends because we're all just such, demented fucks. I mean, too, it's like, oh, that's gold, that's gold, Jerry. And then it's like, no, like we're in such a controlled group, like we've lost our sense of like all moral, like, shit or just any sense of like what a crowd paying, someone that's paying $20 on a Friday night really wants to hear about. So that's never going to stop, and so be it,
Exactly. But it's such a defeating thing, but it's also like the instant gratification of it's so nice.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously you have plenty of comics that are former musicians, and they were like, there's everyone I know that has been a musician and has done stand-up, they were like, no, there's no dopamine hit in music like when a new bit crushes. Like, so,
I think the biggest dopamine in music is like the chemistry between the members.
Right.
And just being, it's like the jazz thing where everyone's just in the zone.
Right.
And it does not matter who's in the room or the audience. It's all about everyone's chemistry and everyone's flow and connection.
Yeah.
Where comedy, it's just the audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that's what attracted me to stand up the most is because, I've tried sketch and stuff like that. It's, you find out how stubborn you are when you've tried sketch and stand up. It's like, no, I just want to do this my way. And, and it's like, and that's kind of, I mean, the beauty of it. And like you don't have to make it. Well, I don't say you don't have to compromise because if you bomb, then you're not going to get booked all the time. You're not going to get booked then, but your idea of what you're going to present, you don't have to compromise with anyone. So I love that. Yeah.
Have you ever done improv?
I've tried it. Yeah. You find out real quick whether you're one of them or not. And I don't even mean real quick like a few days. I mean 5 minutes. I mean, yeah. And look, and there are stand-ups I respect that have done improv, so I'm not going to blanket shit on the whole thing. Just mostly. Like, you know, you find out, like, you know, I'm not saying every stand-up, you know, is some wounded animal, but, you know, there's a mentality that's way different than improv. And improv, there's just such a happy-go-lucky, let's do it together vibe that just kind of makes my skin crawl.
Yeah. And, you know, so I took an improv class in college.
Yeah.
And the first thing we did is we went on
the beer.
I'm all set, man. Right. The first thing we did is we all stood in a circle.
Zip zap zap.
And no,
not that one. Yeah, I've done zip zap.
That was just some PTSD.
Yeah.
I'll take another drink actually.
Yeah.
Zip zap. Oh Jesus.
Yeah,
Christ,
man.
Man. Jesus.
That shit's nuts, man. It's no joke.
But fuck improv, man. But I remember when we went in a circle, and then the teacher's like, "All right, what's everyone's triggers?
Yeah,
you know, what can't we talk about?"
Right.
And by the time we were all done, I'm like, "Fucking, can I get some notes?"
Yeah,
you know, it was like everything.
Wow.
You know, it got to the point where you can't talk about drinking, not now alcoholism,
right?
You know, but drinking alcohol. It was like so it's like, well, this is already fucked,
right?
Because I think personally, you know, in terms of topics, I think it's like, you know, the whole thing where it's like, you know, everything's off limits. I do kind of. Or I guess the opposite, you know, or whatever, where like you can talk about anything.
Yeah.
I agree with that, but there's definitely a lot of like underlining things.
Yeah.
Where, you know, heroin's a big thing with people.
Yeah.
But I think if it is a recovering heroin addict, you know, and they're, you know, and it helps them get through it, and it's also part of them.
Right.
It's part of what they go through.
Yeah.
And if the joke structure and the bit and the writing matches how, you know, sensitive and maybe dark of the topic it is, I think it works. You know, so I think it's everything is all in retrospective.
Yeah, I've done sober shows for people in recovery. I talk about all the coke I used to do, and it's killed. And I've run it by the producer of the show beforehand. Like, hey, are we, you know, tiptoeing around this, or are we gonna go for the jugular here in a good-natured way where I'm not like, you know? And then they're like, no, look, go for it, you know, as long as you're not like really punching down on anyone specifically in the crowd, like calling them a junkie or something like that. I'm like, no, absolutely not. And you can have fun with it. And I think a lot of people in recovery still have a very, you know, dark sense of humor and shit like that.
So for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So,
definitely.
It can be fun in that way.
But in but with improv, man, I think the second class, the teacher walks in, he goes, all right, everyone on the ground, pretend you're spiders. And I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah. What? I'm not wasting another minute here. Yeah. Fuck
like,
yeah.
I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
You know, and then we did it. Mm-hmm. There was like a big showcase to
like friends and family and the student body and shit.
It was like, because there was a lot of acting classes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this big showcase where like at the theater, the college's theater, on stage, you know, it was everyone had a time slot.
Yep.
Tons of people in the audience.
Yeah.
Because all the people who did acting, all their parents and families there.
Yeah.
Improv, no one.
Right.
We had no one coming to see us.
Yep.
We bombed so bad.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, fuck this. You know, did a whole semester.
Yeah.
But then I really, you know, it's like, at that point I wasn't doing stand-up, and I wanted to.
Right.
And I think I did it a couple times. And I told the teacher, the professor or whatever.
Yeah.
I fucking forget his name. Apparently he's like kind of hated in the, the improv community in Boston.
Okay. Yeah.
The scene.
I bet I know. I could guess who he is.
I had told him.
Yeah, if you want to blur this out later. Was his name Mike something with a shaved head?
I don't think so.
No, never mind. Okay. Yeah.
But God, I know bad comics. I can't imagine how bad improvers are in terms of like people.
I've heard, many times that bad improv is way worse than bad stand-up.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But I told him, I'm like, hey man, I want to start doing more stand-up, and I've done it a couple times.
Yeah.
He's like, you? He goes, what would you even talk about?
Jesus.
And that was it.
That was it. Yeah. So was that I'll show you moment? Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do fucking Dot Tavern. I'll show you.
Yeah, I'll show you. Accidentally punch women after my set.
I'm gonna bring 4 people to the Comedy Connection. I'll show you.
Oh no! Didn't know they still do bringers.
Yeah. But I really appreciate you coming through, man. This was.
Thanks for having me, man.
This was quite a thing. Is there anything you want to plug? Take the floor.
I am one of the producers of Hideout Comedy. If you ever want to come by, Wednesdays, Fridays, and it's White Bull Tavern, 7:30 shows, and Poster Boy of Nothing on Insta, and that's about it.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool, Chris. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
All right. Thank you, Brandon.
I'm Brandon Battick, and this is Disturbing the Priest.